Yeah, cool. No worries at all. Yeah, we've still got a few people coming through, but that's fine. Oh, Yogesh. I think Yogesh has been avoiding me. Hey, Yogesh. Okay, look, cool. What I'll do, I've actually got a small presentation to go through tonight. Um, and what I really wanted to do is just take people through, I guess, my journey from what it was in Dubai through to what it is now. So this isn't death by PowerPoint. It's just a rolling presentation. And if anybody has any questions, just stop and ask, and I can answer any questions you like. People who know me, if there's a topic I really enjoy and are passionate about, I will talk all day. But I won't do that tonight. Well, this morning or this afternoon or this evening, wherever it is. It's just after 11 o'clock at night here. So, yeah, getting on a bit. Okay, so here we go. I'm down in Australia, Damian K.Ten Bohmer. Dubai to here is 16 and a half hour flight on the A380 with Emirates as it was. So it's a long, long way, but we're only 6 hours ahead in time zone. I live on the Gold Coast, and this is about 3 minutes walk down the street. I go paddling quite often in the Broadwater as often as I can. And this was taken about 2 days ago. I think it was Sunday morning. We went out with my brother. So we're very, very lucky to live in a beautiful part of the world. So I did have some polls, but just a quick show of hands. Who's actually traveled to Australia? Has anyone traveled to Australia at all? I know a lot of people would like to. No? Nobody yet? That's okay. Look, if any of you make it down here, you've got a surfboard and a ski at my place anytime you like. A lot of people think of Australia as just a place of, sleepy, lovely little koalas. That's one thing we do have, but we have a lot of other things as well that I'll show you a little bit later on. We're a bloody big country. That's the only way to describe it. Flying from the East Coast to the West Coast is going to take you about 6 hours. 5.5 hours this way, 6.5 hours, 6 hours this way, because we get the trade winds across. We're a country of only 26 million people, so we have slightly more than the state of California, but a land mass that is far, far bigger. Mainly governed by, we have a political party and they're based out of the Australian Capital Territory. We have the ACT and Northern Territory and the rest of states. I've been lucky enough to live and work and travel to all these states in Australia. But as you can see, pretty much most of it is desert. Think of the empty quarter in UAE and you're about halfway there. But again, we have some wonderful snowfields down in Tasmania and Victoria. They're getting an awesome dumping of snow. And right now in Darwin, at the top end, they've got about 33 degrees and sunny. So again, we're a very big country. So if you hear something happening in one place, it's not happening anywhere else. It's a pretty interesting country. We actually have, of the first peoples, being the Aborigines, the longest single lineage of a community globally. So the Australian Aboriginals are the longest living continual community anywhere in the world. We call them the first people because they settled here before anybody else, before we were invaded by the British, and I thank the British for discovering Australia as it was. But they're a wonderful, wonderful people, and they have an amazing story, and they call it the dream time. So everything you see and hear, they have a beautiful story about how it was created. It's a wonderfully diverse country. It really is. I'm living just south of Brisbane here on the coast, just a little bit further north from the border as it would be. The funny thing is, we've got this little rock in the middle. It's the largest megalith in the world. Literally, 1,200 to 1,800 kilometers around, there is flat desert. And all you see is this megalith, the Ayers Rock in the middle. And it's fascinating. When I was at Alice Springs, which is 500 kilometers from the rock here, we'd get tourists hop on their bike and go, "Excuse me, where are you going to today, sir, ma'am?" "Oh, we're riding to Ayers Rock." "No, you're not." "Oh, it looks so close on the map," because the country is so big. So no, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. I'm very, very lucky to call this home now. Oh, this is actually a picture I took just 2 weeks ago down the beach. A little video. It's a bit deceptive. The waves out there were about 3 to 4 meters coming through. So it was quite a big day for the surf. What a lot of people don't realize, coming from all parts of the world, that we have the ocean on all sides. We're the largest island in the world. And if you go to swimming in Dubai, very, very different to here. So if you come to Australia, please swim between the flags. Okay. So look, I've had a little bit of time in the Middle East, 11 and a half years actually, based in the Middle East, living in Bahrain, traveling across the Johnny Walker Causeway quite often. And I spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia. I was actually the first above property person in Saudi for the hotel management company I was working for at the time. So that was an amazing experience. When I mention the Middle East to people outside of the Middle East or Australia, they usually think of desert. But ironically, Australia probably has more per square kilometre of desert than Saudi Arabia. It's just that Saudi and the GCC have a lot more sand than us. So it's actually quite interesting. And actually, I was talking to a sheikh a couple of years ago in Riyadh, and he's a great aficionado of camels. And what I found out is that Australia has the most pure strain of camels in the world, because they were brought in by the first explorers over 270 years ago, and they stayed, and they haven't been crossbred or saturated with other types of camels. So actually they come highly prized and at a high price as well, for mostly racing and breeding out of Australia. Usually when I say the Middle East, people think of deserts, but they usually give me this funny quizzical look. And I guess in the role I'm in at now as a coach and faculty trainer with CTA, I have a great opportunity to share my experience and probably help people understand a little bit more about what the Middle East is like. People think Dubai, cars, Abu Dhabi Grand Mosque. Yes, it's all about oil. Oh, you've got a few conflicts over there. And they'd be right, yes to all the above, but it's more than that. I really try to get through to people that it's a wonderfully diverse place. You know, thinking of Wadi Rum in Jordan there, you know, Kaaba and Mecca, you know, with Tawaf and everything else, and people down there. The creek in Dubai, Medina, the sails above the Holy Mosque. I actually took that photo, but that's for a later story later on today. You know, the Middle East, and I really like dispelling a lot of myths about it to people, that, you know, it's a wonderfully rich, diverse culture, wonderfully rich history of scientific discoveries. And I really like sharing what little I know of the Middle East, which seems to be a lot to people in Australia here. Obviously, it's quite a big range. So what sort of words do you guys think about when you hear the word Australia? Just drop them in the chat box, actually. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. So when I say the word Australia, what do you think of? Kangaroo, yep. Ocean, Opera House, yep. You'd be right with all of those. You know, the kangaroo is actually, we do eat kangaroo. It's one of the most lean meat in the world. There's zero cholesterol, and it's completely sustainable. And it costs less to run 1,000 head of kangaroo than it does to run 50 cattle. Boomerang, yep, love those. They always come back, or mostly. Cricket, oh yeah, good on you, Yogesh, absolutely. We don't have a very good cricket team at the moment, though. I think India's going to beat us India's going to beat us in any big cricket coming forward. So look, you'd be exactly right in everything you say there. It's such a diverse country. You know, look, you know, we've got the koalas, the kangaroo, the echidna, the kookaburra. I was actually at a friend's place on Sunday riding some horses with them and with my daughter. And they have a family of kookaburras that come down every afternoon, and we fed them from the barbecue. And we also have, for anybody who's a little bit scientific, the only egg-laying mammal in the world. This is the platypus.
Platypus.
Yep, exactly. It lays an egg, and the male has a spike on its back foot, its back right foot. It's actually a poisonous spike. So even though they're cute and cuddly, they can give you a bit of a nasty sting, but they're pretty placid, pretty placid. This was actually just down the back of my place, about 2 minutes down the road at the sports field the other day. A few kangaroos around, which was lovely. But obviously, you know, like other parts of the world, we've had an absolute hell of a time. We had the worst summer. Bushfires you heard of. We had massive droughts. We had drenching rains. And of course, huge snow and hailfall as well. So look, Australia is a land of extremes. And whilst it's a big country, we all speak English. Every single city is slightly different. Everything is so different around this country. We have bogans. If anyone's known Australia, you've got the bogan. The bogan is a, let me think, an uncouth Australian that likes to drink a lot of beer. There's a couple of my mates at a dress-up party, though. I don't associate with bogans. We've got some deadly animals as well. Pretty much 6 out of the top 10 deadly snakes are here. But we only say this to keep the tourists away because it's such a bloody great place. But on saying that, you know, we have thousands and thousands of unique wildlife as well that you're more than happy to touch and that won't kill you. Now, look, my transition to Australia, it took a little bit of time. I did my coach training with Harris and the CTA team, started in 2018, finished it in 2019, and then moved to Australia about July last year. The reason was twofold. We have a 17-year-old daughter, and we wanted her to finish high school in the last 2 years because it's a slightly different curricula here. And to be honest, I was just over the whole corporate games. So I'm a reformed corporate junkie, and I really wanted to do something on my own. And although my role in the hotels was commercial, which is sales, marketing, revenue, distribution, channels, and the likes, you know, 70% of my time was spent with people. And that's what I really enjoyed most of anything, was just working with the team and seeing them grow, seeing them succeed, and seeing them make their goals, both personal and professional. So that led me to the whole passion of coaching. When I got here, it was a culture shock. You know, I think when you go to any country to holiday, you're prepared for it and you adjust a little bit. When we'd lived overseas for almost 17 years in Asia and India and the Middle East, coming back to Australia was very different. For the size of the roads compared to what we're used to in Dubai, the way people speak, the price of things at the shops, very, very different. But then again, you know, I think you expect that. It took us about 6 months to really sort of land and feel at home in our home country, which is quite ironic. A few, I guess, learnings I had along the way. And what I realized is that the time in the Middle East changed me, obviously, as a person within the family and the business profession, but it also changed my outlook on life so much more. Living in India, you know, living where we did in Gurgaon, you know, we had a slum right next to the villa complex. So you become extremely aware of what you have and what you don't have. Going to places like Medina, realizing how lucky I am to experience a place like that. But then to explain it to people back home and use the time I had there as stories to help other people learn, it was really just a matter of sort of, you know, perspective. And when I realized it was all about perspective, I had to think a little bit more. I like building things and like making models. So I actually came up with a little model, and I'll give you guys all a copy of it tonight, of just 5 steps, you know, how to shift your perspective. And this doesn't have to be because of a massive move internationally. It could be as simple as, you know, shifting house. It could be as simple as changing job. It could be as simple as, you know, you find yourself in a rut or maybe overwhelmed with things. You know, this is not new. I think it's just a nice little consolidated list that I'll walk through in a minute. But really, to shift your perspective, we look at the self-talk, and I'll go through this in detail. The second step is to reframe, I guess, the situation. Realign with your vision. And for those of the people who know me, I really enjoy the reading of Simon Sinek. So maybe your why, your purpose. There's a thing in here called proximity that I'll explain shortly, and as if. So, the 5 steps to shifting perspective, and this would help me settle here in Australia, and also has helped me, I guess, distill and translate, for want of a better word, the experiences that I've been fortunate enough to have throughout the Middle East into my coaching business here, and a little bit about how I've settled on my niche in my coaching business and how that helps me shortly. But, the first one is you just want to change your self-talk. We all have that inner voice, that the comments on what we're doing, for better or worse. My first coach that I was lucky enough to have called it the internal saboteur. So I was dealing with a lot of negative self-talk. Psychologists literally call it self-talk. And there is nothing that anybody can do to stop it, unless you fall off this earth, literally. Everybody is, as long as you're a breathing human being, you have self-talk. But if we're going to engage in self-talk, it doesn't always be negative. So the lesson here is just to listen to your self-talk. Listen to what words are coming up. Write down any repeating thoughts you have about the situation or a situation, and try to identify where they're coming from. But it's easy to say, change your self-talk. It's only one step in the way. The next thing is really, you want to reframe your perspective. The example I have here, and I think we can all attest to this one. You wake up in the morning, you're driving to work, somebody cuts you off on the road. You're going to get angry. It's just the normal reaction of being protective of yourself, your property, and whoever's in the car. But this is where you have a choice to reframe the situation. So you can allow that event to ruin the rest of your day, or reframe it for the positive. So the guy might be running late. The person might be running for an emergency. They just didn't see me. I'm just another car on the road. So just reframe the situation, and that helps put things into perspective. And once you put it into perspective, you can look to change that perspective. This is a big one by title, realign with your vision. But it's more or less just going back to what's true to you. I love reading the Stoic books, Marcus Aurelius Meditations, Letters of the Stoics. There's a great one here from Lucius Seneca, which was about, I think it was about 235 BC. So it's like 2,500 years ago. He had a saying, he said, if one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. So if you don't have your anchor, if you don't have your direction, you don't have your why, you're just going to float around the Mediterranean like a ship with no port to sail to. So, when you feel out of sorts or misaligned, not necessarily aligned, but misaligned, just take a deep breath. Embrace maybe some mindfulness training or yoga or meditation, as it would be, and just realign with your purpose, your vision, your why, and things will settle in time. It won't happen automatically. It'll take a little bit of time. It's a key focus for me coming back to Australia, because I've found a lot of deep-seated ignorance in Australia. Whilst we're a great people, very domestic looking, vast majority of people, although a lot of them do travel. So I'm very mindful about how I translate my experiences of the Middle East and the likes to people here. They're very opinionated Aussies, and they'll tell you what they think. And they call a spade a bloody shovel. So they're pretty brutal about it. So that's one thing I've had to learn pretty quickly. I think what I've realized in the Middle East is that there is an element of civility and politeness that transcends all nationalities in the Middle East, which is really cool. This one's proximity. So looking to shift your perspective, look at where you are in both a physical sense and an emotional sense. So, okay, why am I at this juncture? What is it that's brought me here? Where am I really? Do I have to be in this situation? No, actually, no. Step out of it. Sometimes we can be too close to something. You hear the old adage, you can't see the forest for the trees, or too far away, or sometimes not close enough, to what's inhibiting or coloring this opportunity to change your perspective or shift your perspective. So it's all about proximity. And sometimes physically standing up, taking a step back, or taking yourself out of the office for a walk where you can, or moving to another part to do some work. Just that change in physical surroundings can really help clear the mind, so you can actually look to change that perspective or shift that perspective. So just take yourself away from the source or move closer. If it's a matter of identifying what that source is that you need to change from or realign to. And the last one that I really love, it just says act as if. So you know what, if things aren't as you wish, but you want to make the change, close your eyes and imagine what would the successful person in this position do, say, or act like. So imagine you've already got it. Yep, I've nailed it, done. This is what this person would do. Imagine yourself conquering, I guess, that challenge. And the fact is, we can't always change everything that's been given to us. We can't change all the situations. The only thing we can change is actually the way we respond and react to things. So act as if the change is already active. Hold and follow that feeling. It's quite empowering when you sort of close your eyes and you imagine yourself, succeeding in that challenge, and you open your eyes. You will see things differently. And that's what the whole act as if is about. I'll send you all, before I forget, I'll send you all later on the document. Here we go. Let me just give this to you now. Before I forget. There we go, it's on the chat. So I put a little checklist together for everybody there of the 5 steps of shifting your perspective. And that's what it looks like there. So look, when I went from corporate to coach, it was difficult. I just want to spend a little bit of time sharing with you how coaching is seen in Australia, how I'm leveraging my Middle East experience, and also how my company, CTA and ICF, are represented in Australia. Corporate to coaching, no qualms about it. I was a corporate soldier. My hashtag for many years was Road Warrior. It was almost a badge of honor for being out there and traveling 3 weeks out of 4. But you know what? That's not important. The important thing are the family and the people we keep around us. And that really, really helped me make that shift. And when I realized my passion was for coaching and people, the choice to move from a well-paying, stable job to the world of entrepreneurship was an easy one. Not being an entrepreneur is easy. It's difficult, but hugely rewarding. But it was certainly just passion that moved me from that corporate world to where we are right now. Why did I choose coaching? I mean, it was a compass. I mean, I'm a person that needs to have one singular focus that everything else falls behind. And being the best coach and coach trainer is the singular focus of my professional career. And it's something I really, really enjoy learning about every day, whether it be with my students or colleagues or peers. Always something to learn and grow. The learning journey of being a coach never finishes. Actually, the learning journey of being an individual never finishes. I think the longer we coach, just the better coaches we become. And I do love people. I really do. And I miss my team. When I speak to guys in the Middle East and girls in the Middle East, they say, do you miss the job? I said, no, I don't miss the job. Politics, I miss all of you. I'm still in contact with pretty much 95% of the people on these photographs over the years. We had a lot of fun. And look, anyone on the call, if I ever suggest growing a mustache again, just slap me. It doesn't work. I look like a 70s porn star or something. It's awful, absolutely awful. So don't ever let me grow a mustache. And of course, my wife and daughter as well. They're everything I stand for right now. Look, I was so lucky so fortunate to spend the time in the Middle East as I did. You know, I'm sure a lot of people would recognize this airport here, Jeddah, just next to the Hajj terminal. I kept saying to my boss, fly Saudia, fly Saudia. No, no, no. He'd have to go Emirates. We'd have to park so far away from the terminal. Get to work with some awesome people. This owner actually opened up a hotel in Mecca of 6,500 rooms. That's the Al Kiswa Hotel, just about 1.7 kilometers from Kaaba. Get to open great hotels, work with people. And again, anyone who's been to Jeddah, and I've been lucky enough to be pretty much all over Saudi except for Mecca Central, you have Al Baik. And you haven't been to Jeddah if you haven't had Al Baik. Now, if anybody has been to Medina, can anybody identify where I am? Just drop it in the chat box if you think you know where I am. It's obviously a mountain. It's Jebel Uhud, which is the Prophet's mountain. I was fortunate enough to go to Medina a few times, and one time actually had permission to stay in our hotel, which is the Intercontinental, right next to the mosque, as it would be on the corner there. These team members, Hazem and Ahmed, a Saudi guy, took us out of a night, and we ended up going this is about 2 o'clock in the morning, Jebel Uhud in the park there. So I'm just so lucky to have these experiences there to talk through. Now, when I mentioned coaching in Australia, this is pretty much the response I get from a lot of people. It's a difficult time for coaching in Australia. As much as I love the business, and it's a developing business, and with ICF at the helm, there's a lot of players out there that muddy the waters. But it's my role as a coach trainer and as a credentialed professional coach to help people understand what coaching is, but more importantly, what coaching is not as well. My company is called World Coach Performance, and I'm currently the ACC. What I settled as a niche, and those of you going through coach training, it may not be clear to you right now. This niche did take me probably a good 6 months to clarify. And to be honest, probably didn't get it 100% nailed until about January this year. So I'm purely focusing on leadership development and succession planning in my coaching. So I'm working at all levels of organizations, but with a clear focus on service-based businesses. And what you'll find is that when you develop your own niche, they say look for your 100 raving fans. People think, oh, only 100. But once you get the 100, the 10,000 and the million behind those become clear to see. So I'm very, very, very consciously not trying to coach everybody. I do turn business down because I don't do life coaching. I don't work with companies that sell alcohol or tobacco. That's just my stance. I work with service-based businesses. But when you look at service-based businesses anywhere in the world, you think of medical, think of hospitality, think of the police force, armed forces, Air Force, Navy, and the likes. It's quite incredible. Or even other coaches as well. Anybody selling a service, a perishable inventory, or their time is in a service-based business. So that's my very clear niche, and I'm very happy to stick behind that forever and a day. CTA in Australia is new. I mean, I've been here since July. Probably taken the first 6 months to find the feet of CTA and look at the competitive landscape. But I'm really lucky to have such a great team behind me. Franda and Pearl and Alexis and Samir and Mahmoud and Samina and Adel and John and Jan, and of course Harris supporting us all. The difference with CTA in Australia versus the other coach training companies, and there's a few, there's 5 actually that are really super well established, is that we come from a place of heart and also a place of global awareness. Every single trainer in all the other coach training schools in Australia have never once worked outside of Australia. So what I'm trying to bring is my experience in the Middle East and also the network of these wonderful peers to the training of coaches here in Australia. And I think in the hyper-connected world that we're in, the Zoom connected world that we're in, and the COVID world we're in right now, to have a global appreciation and experience is going to help more so than anything else. So this is where, you know, the CTA family, and I don't use that word lightly, the family support me, and I hopefully support CTA in its development here in Australia. The International Coach Federation is obviously global, just celebrated its 25th year recently. I sit on the leadership team for Queensland, and ICF has about 900 members in Australia, I'm not too sure, but I look after the Gold Coast region. So I've only got about 35 members. My role is to support the Queensland president and really develop ICF into the powerhouse it needs to be, working with a lot of corporates so they can understand more what coaching is and, of course, what coaching is not. So look, that's really it, actually, guys. That's sort of, from Dubai to Australia, whistle stop tour, 35 minutes of me with a little bit of a learning along the way of how to shift your perspective. I could talk all night about the Middle East and Australia, but because we have such a great group tonight, I'd like to sort of open up for any questions or comments or the likes. Thank you so much. And for those of you who don't know me, I'll pop my contact details in the chat. Any questions from anybody at all? Just pop your hand up or...
Damian, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Who was your first client in Australia for whom you worked as a coach, and how did you get to that client?
Yeah, no, good question, Natalia. Thanks, exactly. My first client was actually a small medical center not too far from home here. And I sort of got introduced to them from a friend of a friend. And they brought in a couple of new practitioners, GPs, and they just wanted them to help assimilate with the culture of the business. It's only a small business. So that was a referral. But funny you say that. The last day or so, I've been getting a lot of different leads through my website for people who are looking for certainty in their current state of the COVID climate. Yeah, so yeah, which is really, like, I had a great call with a lady in Melbourne today. She has a great job. She's busy as all hell, but she's just not sure if this is what she wants to do. So what I'm finding is that aside from the leadership and succession planning, there's a lot of people that are just not sure what they want to do. So yeah, but the first client was the little medical center up the road. And I see the doctors, well, as least as possible, but I see them occasionally up there. Cool.
Damian, I'm not sure you'll be able to answer this, but I'm going to still go ahead and ask you.
Yep.
Are the challenges very similar between Dubai and Australia when you're coaching at leadership levels, or do different challenges emerge across cultures?
Some of the challenges that I've seen the same are actually one of self-awareness, also a reluctance to have crucial conversations, and just a general uncertainty of what's next, like what's next for me, as in from the client perspective. Yeah, so those three things, Adithra, are pretty much universal from what I've seen. Locally, to be looking at the Aussies to the others, I spend a lot more time explaining to the Aussies what coaching is. Like I had someone the other day said, "Oh yeah, I've got someone at work that tells me what to do." I said, "No, let's back the truck up a little bit, sunshine. Coaching isn't about telling. Coaching is about, enabling you and helping you understand." So yeah, but those three things I found similar. The one difference is probably the lack of understanding is probably less than where I want it to be, and they want to do things quickly. I don't want to talk to you for 3 months. Can we do it? Can we do it in a month? It's like, yeah, no, yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I also had a question around vulnerability. Do you see a difference across cultures in Australia and the Middle East?
Yeah, the vulnerability is there within the individual in Australia as much as it is in the Middle East. I think it's easier to uncover here, than say in Saudi or Lebanon or even India and the likes. Outside of Australia, there's an element of pride that's brought with people through the family and they're standing in that family. In Australia, it's not so much. People are very much pushed out to stand on their own 2 feet as quickly as they can. Yeah, so they're probably quicker to show their vulnerability than they would in the Middle East and Asia and the likes, yeah.
Thank you, Damian.
No, pleasure. There's actually another thing here. Oh, sorry. Before next question, there's a little, in Australia, they've got a really awful habit. It's called the tall poppy syndrome. Australia is a pretty egalitarian sort of country. You know, everyone's your mate. Yeah, we'll go down the pub, have a beer, go for a surf, you know, or he's like, you know, Chris Hemsworth, the actor, surfs at Byron Bay. I was out there with him over Christmas time. Yeah, g'day, Chris. G'day. Yeah, we're just surfers. But if somebody starts to make it really well in business or in life, it's like, no, dude, look, just they almost knock you down a little bit. It's called the tall poppy syndrome. It's it really sucks, actually. They're happy to see people make good, but not too good. Yeah, remember where you came from, that sort of thing, yeah. Cool.
Hi, Damian. Jumana here.
Hey, Jumana.
Yeah, since your niche has been leadership development, one of the things when you were presenting that came to my mind was, at least in Australia or even in the Middle East in comparison, or in general you can answer, but my question is more around, do you see people who are not given the title of a leadership getting into leadership roles? Like, is that something that you're seeing more in Australia as compared to UAE? Or do you still see that the people who reach you out are already in leadership roles, management roles, so to say, who has people management under their belt or project management under their belt? So what kind of people really is coming to you voluntarily than organizations who are anyways having coaching as part of the leadership development? So if you can just share some insights on that.
Yeah, good question. My philosophy is that anybody in any role in any business or company can play a leadership role. It's the way they stand up and the way they show up and who they are in that business. But from a technical leadership perspective, yeah, I get a lot of people coming to me independently of their business that would have pretty senior roles. Like the lady in Melbourne I was talking to today is actually business development manager with an amazing software program that's all about risk analysis and actuarial percentages and the likes. Super smart lady, PhD and everything else, but she was reaching out for a coach. She's just lost. The corporates giving leadership development through coaching is still emerging in Australia, like coach panels and the likes. They're usually employed through the HR or learning development teams. So yeah, I'm tending to find a lot more individuals reach out on their own because they can claim a lot of it back through their company. And it also shows, I think, a bit of initiative from their perspective if they're not getting that support in the business.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to basically share also with the group, because I found that as one of the challenging things, that if you're not having a team or if you're not having a kind of, reporting structure, I think as an organization, they don't still understand coaching when it comes from an individual doing the coaching. You see what I mean? So they have to reach out separately. And I'm glad people are doing that, because that's what we want in the coaching business, isn't it? I mean, we need people to reach out for aspiring roles, not because they've already got there. They want to be better than what they're doing now. So that's great. Thanks, Damian.
No, pleasure. Actually, just on the reach out as well. With ICF, we have a proactive outreach campaign through corporates. They're educating them on what ICF offers. And any tender that comes out from the government or that I see coming online through other individual companies are asking for ICF credential coaches. So there is that appetite for it. It's there, and I'm super excited about the opportunities. Absolutely. I think it's just going to explode. Definitely.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, Damian.
Pleasure.
Damian.
Sana, hey.
Hello. Sorry, I'm on camera. I just want to say thank you very much for this inspiring presentation, and also that it was very inspiring to me since I've been I just left my job and I worked.
We can't hear you, Sana.
Very faint there, Sana. It's fading in and fading out.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, hello. You were very faint. We could hardly hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very faint. Do you want to try once more, Sana?
Yes. Hello? Maybe I will dial in again.
No, can't hear you. I'm sorry, Sana. Oh, bye, Sana. No worries. No other questions there, guys? Cool. Look, thanks for the opportunity tonight. Like I said, I could literally talk about Australia and coaching, all night, but I won't do that. For those of you going through your coaching journey, you've made the right decision with CTA. You've also made the right decision with an emerging business trend. And I say it's an emerging business trend because obviously we're still an unregulated industry, but there's a lot of work happening through ICF, EMCC and the likes and CCE to get it more regulated. But with the professional coach training you do, you then self-regulate, which then perpetuates the positive elements of coaching. Look, it's like my header image says, every leader has a coach, be the leader you strive to be. It's certainly a truism nowadays. So yeah, but thanks for the opportunity to give me your time tonight, and thanks for listening to an Aussie bloke ramble on.
I think Sana is back.
Sana.
Hello.
Hey Sana, how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? I have a bad connection. Sorry.
That's okay. Do you want to try to ask that question again?
I was just saying thank you for the presentation, and it was quite inspiring because I've been in consulting for 8 years and decided to leave the job and take coaching as a career path. So my question is, what advice could you give me in order to integrate what I have learned in consulting and servicing government into coaching?
I only heard a little bit of that. I heard about coaching as a career path and advice. It's quite a bad line. So I was saying a second ago when you reconnected that coaching is still an emerging discipline around the world, but it's really on the cusp of being great. And I say that with all sincerity. The work that ICF are doing to get the word out about credentialing, the word that EMCC is doing as well, they're aligned, and all the other professional bodies. So look, it's the right career. It's not easy, developing your own business. Like when I said to Natalia, my first client, it was 3 months. before I had, one client, and then it was another month before I had a second client. It is hard, but once you define your niche, and I can't stress how important that is, then your clients will come. Yeah, that's the most important thing. Once the niche is refined and you practice your elevator pitch, the rest will follow suit. Absolutely. So hopefully that's answered your question from what I could hear.
She's, I think, going to type her question on chat box.
Yeah, sure.
So, Damian, I heard your journey going from the Middle East to Australia for multiple reasons, and I also remember our discussions about your transition from UAE and being an employee to an entrepreneur. And what were the emotions you were going through while you were going through that transition?
Wow. Yeah, I remember those discussions actually. The emotions, I think there was one of excitement of what the possibility is and what things could be. Was one of blind optimism as well. But there was also, I think, a nervousness because you don't know what you don't know. What's that again? Yeah, unconsciously incompetent. I don't know what I don't know. And what I thought I knew of Australia was old data. And it took me a good 6 months to get the fresh set of data in my little grey matter. So yeah, the emotions were one of excitement, apprehension, with a healthy dose of fear. Yeah.
And what helped you overcome? Was there anything that helped you?
Look, to be honest, having the connectivity back to you guys in Dubai has been a godsend, seriously. I could not have achieved anything here without you guys, seriously. I'm not saying that because you're on the phone here. I talk to Franda often, talk to you, Harris, often, bugging poor Sanchit all the time, and Stefan lately. But no, that's been a stabilizing factor for me here. And then the connectivity with ICF. Yeah, I was really happy to join the ICF team here. So I think with those two professional supports, that's helped me. And of course, an ever-suffering wife for 20 years now, and a 17-year-old daughter who's now just talking to me again. But all good. Yeah.
Thank you, Damian. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Look, it's been wonderful chatting to you tonight. Have a wonderful evening.
And we've got a question from Sana.
Oh, here we go. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Consulting corporate field, servicing government entities, communication strategy in the Middle East for 8 years, designing people and development and patient coaching, integrate the experience into coaching. So communication strategy in the Middle East into coaching. I think look at where you believe people are lacking in the abilities to take their profession within the corporate or government or in the field, the departments you're working with, and try to develop your niche from there. What I would recommend is don't try to approach people that you used to work with before, as in the departments you're used to. Probably push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone, but write down who your niche is. If you've got the consulting experience and in communications and the like, Sana, you're super skilled to do the right job. I think draw your experience there, bring in some stories with your coaching journey, and look at what need you can fill in that target niche. And that should hopefully sort of refine down your focus from a marketing and sales perspective. Yeah.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Please.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It's very inspiring and lovely. I'm interested in knowing your experience. You said that it took you 6 months to define your niche. because I'm going through the same thing, and I feel like I'm going through periods of being certain of my niche and then some hesitation. So what advice can you give us all to help us stay focused on our choices and move along with it?
Yeah, look, really good question, Nada. It took me the 6 months to define, I wouldn't say define, but refine my niche. I had an idea. It was executive coaching and group coaching, which was too broad. What I would suggest is that do a bit of a brain dump, get a clean sheet of paper, write down all the stuff on one side of the page you love doing with people in coaching, write down on the other side of the page stuff you don't like doing with people when it comes to coaching, and look at some of the repeating words. Then with your ideas, share it widely. Find some people within the CTA community. Maybe I wouldn't say family or friends because they're probably too close to it. They're just going to say yes to make you feel good. Find some people that will give you some honest feedback to test that niche. I have a couple of really good friends in the UK and New Zealand that they call a spade a bloody shovel. They don't mince words, and they're very, very good in helping refine something. So yeah, I'd say write things down and test and test and test. And then when nobody objects to what you're saying, when you test it with your peers and it feels right, that's your niche. And then you just go out and look for your 100 raving fans. I even drew a picture of them. It helped me understand, you know, even drew a picture. Yeah, that certainly helped.
Thank you. Great advice. Thank you.
That's a pleasure. Cool. And sorry for the Australian vernacular. I've only been back here a year now, and I'm sounding more Australian than I used to. Cool. Well, look, thanks very much, everybody. Really appreciate your time tonight. And like I said, giving me a bit of airplay. Yeah, Harris is going to post this online. And yeah, any other questions, you've got my contact details, or drop a note through the community and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Well, all the best to you, Damian. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Damian.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
Friday.
Absolutely. Take care, Natalia. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.